The Vakreen did not trust humans. Their fragile frames, their soft skin, their inability to survive even a single night in the frost plains of Vakros 7 without artificial warmth, these were the markers of a weak species. The pack elders had allowed Emma and Elijah to join the expedition only because the Galactic Council mandated human representation on all frontier surveys. It was a political courtesy, nothing more. Emma had known this from the moment she and Elijah stepped off the transport. The Vakreen towered over them, their thick fur rippling with muscle, their elongated snouts filled with teeth designed for tearing. When pack leader Thorax had looked down at the two humans, his amber eyes held no malice, only pity. "Stay behind," he had growled in broken standard. "Let the strong do what must be done." But Emma hadn't traveled 3 months across the galaxy to stay behind. The survey mission had been routine for the first 2 weeks. The Vakreen moved through the frozen mountains with practiced efficiency, their cubs, young warriors barely into their second decade, bounding ahead to scout passes and mark paths. Emma and Elijah followed, collecting atmospheric samples, cataloging mineral deposits and proving their worth in the only way they could, through persistence. Elijah, with his quick wit and engineering mind, had fixed the pack's primary scanner when it malfunctioned in the sub-zero temperatures. Emma, trained in xenobiology, had warned them away from a seemingly solid ice bridge that concealed a methane pocket. Small victories, grudging nods of acknowledgement. Then came the avalanche. It started as a rumble, deep and ominous, echoing through the narrow canyon they traversed. Emma looked up in time to see the mountain face fracture, a white wall of death cascading toward them with the inevitability of gravity itself. "Run!" Thorax's roar split the air. The Vakreen scattered, their powerful legs propelling them forward with inhuman speed. Emma ran too, her boots pounding against ice, her lungs burning in the thin atmosphere. Beside her, Elijah's breathing came in ragged gasps. They wouldn't make it. She knew it with cold certainty. "Elijah, go," she screamed, shoving him forward with all her strength. He stumbled ahead, gaining precious meters. Emma turned to face the avalanche, knowing it was futile. Knowing she had bought Elijah perhaps 3 more seconds of life. Something massive slammed into her from the side. She hit the ground hard, the air exploding from her lungs. Heavy weight pressed down on her, and she smelled the musk of Vakreen fur. Above her, the world turned white as the avalanche roared past. A freight train of ice and stone that should have crushed her into nothing, but it didn't. When the rumbling finally stopped, Emma lay in darkness, cocooned in warmth. She realized with shock that 3 Vakreen cubs had thrown themselves over her, their bodies forming a protective barrier. Around them, larger forms had created a barrier. Adult Vakreen standing firm against the avalanche's fury, using their own bodies as shields. "Are you injured, human?" one of the cubs whispered. His name was Corin, barely old enough to have his battle scars. Emma's voice caught. "No, you saved me. You stayed for your packmate," Corin said simply. "Only cowards abandon their own." They dug themselves out into a changed world. The avalanche had transformed the canyon into a maze of ice boulders and unstable snow. Worse, it had separated them from the main pack. Emma, Elijah, and 6 Vakreen, 3 cubs and 3 adults, were trapped on the wrong side of an impassable ice wall, and Emma's leg was broken. She hadn't noticed it at first, the adrenaline masking the pain. But when she tried to stand, the fracture made itself known with white-hot agony. She gasped, nearly blacking out. "We leave her," one of the adult Vakreen, a scarred warrior named Vex, said flatly. "She will slow us. We must reach the extraction point before the storm arrives." "No." Corin stepped between Vex and Emma, his young voice steady. "We carry her, foolish cub. She is not worth—" She stayed for her pack. Corin's voice rose to a challenging growl. When she could have run, when her weak legs could have carried her to safety, she stayed to give Elijah more time. That is courage. That is pack. Elijah had already knelt beside Emma, his med kit out, his hands working to stabilize her leg. His dark eyes met hers, fierce and determined. "We don't leave anyone behind. That's what makes us human." The Vakreen stood silent. Above them, the sky darkened with the approaching storm, a Vakros 7 ice storm that could freeze flesh in minutes. It was Thorax who broke the standoff. The pack leader had been part of the protective barrier, Emma realized. His shoulder was bleeding from where falling ice had gashed him. "The human is right," Thorax said quietly. We do not leave pack behind. Vex, you and Korax fashion a stretcher. Cubs, you will take turns with the human male carrying Emma. I will lead us through the passes. What followed were the longest hours of Emma's life. The Vakreen cubs, young warriors who had been taught that humans were weak, barely worth notice, carried her stretcher through terrain that would have defeated professional climbers. When one tired, another took their place. Elijah rotated with them, his human endurance surprising the Vakreen as he matched their strength through sheer stubborn will. The ice storm hit when they were halfway to the extraction point. The world became a howling white void, visibility reduced to meters. The Vakreen formed a circle around Emma and Elijah, their bodies blocking the worst of the wind. When Emma's heated suit began to fail, Corin lay beside the stretcher, his body heat keeping her from freezing. "Why?" Emma asked through chattering teeth. "Why risk yourselves for me?" Corin's amber eyes gleamed in the darkness. "Because you taught us something, Emma human. Courage is not about being strong or fast or having thick fur. Courage is about standing when every instinct screams to run. Courage is about choosing your pack over yourself." They reached the extraction point as dawn broke, battered and exhausted. The main pack waited there, having come around the long way. When they saw the small group emerge from the storm, carrying their human packmate, a silence fell. Thorax addressed his pack, his voice carrying across the frozen plain. "Let it be known, the humans Emma and Elijah are pack friends of the Vakreen. They have shown courage beyond their strength, loyalty beyond their kind. Any who questions their worth questions me." Emma, delirious with pain and exhaustion, saw the Vakreen cubs standing tall beside her stretcher, their young faces proud. They had carried her through hell, these children of an alien race. And in doing so, they had become something more. Later, in the medical bay of the orbiting ship, Elijah sat beside Emma's bed. "You know the Vakreen Council has requested that we become permanent liaisons?" he said, grinning. Emma smiled. "Who would have thought? Weak little humans, accepted into one of the galaxy's fiercest warrior cultures." "Not because we're strong," Elijah said softly. "No," Emma agreed, remembering Corin's words, remembering the weight of those who had shielded her, "because we showed them what courage truly was." Outside the window, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, and somewhere on a frozen world below, young Vakreen cubs told the story of the human who stayed, and the pack who learned that strength comes in many forms.